This week's book bite is from The Serpent's Secret, and this is a fantasy adventure about a sixth grader named Kieran Mala who lives in New Jersey. And on her 12th birthday, she wakes up and her parents have disappeared, and there is a demon in her house that sweeps her to another dimension where there's magic and flying horses and all kinds of crazy things. And so she has to solve a series of riddles in order to find her parents and kind of save the world and get back to New Jersey. The day my parents got swallowed by a Rakash and whisked away to another galactic dimension was a pretty craptastic day. The fact that it was actually my 12th birthday made it all that much worse. Instead of cake or presents or a party, I spent the day kicking demon butt, traveling through time and space looking for my family, and basically saving New Jersey, our entire world, and everything beyond it. Not that I didn't have help, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I'll tell you that part soon. First, let me back up a little. My life, pre Rakosh incident, had been pretty ordinary. I spent most of my time at school hanging out with my best friend Zuzu at her family's diner and helping at my parents' store. There was Zuzu's grandma's Benacapita and Baba's stockroom inventories, doing homework and avoiding my next door neighbor slash arch nemesis, Jovi, and her giggly gang of popular girls. Regular old sixth grade stuff. Nothing that really prepared me for interdimensional demon slaying. I guess Ma and Baba had tried to warn me in their own goofy way. Ever since I was a little girl, they told me awesome stories about Rakash, these carnivorous, snot-trailing demons who liked to speak in rhyme while chomping on innocent villagers. Ever heard of Jack's Giant, the one who wants to grind Englishmen's bones to make his bread? Well, add some horns, fangs, and talons to Mr. Fee-Fi-Fo-Fum, and you're getting close to picturing a Rakash. But no matter how real giants or demons or goblins seem in stories, nothing can prepare you for seeing one on your doorstep, right? But that's exactly what happened to me on my 12th birthday, which, because fate clearly has a twisted sense of humor, also happens to be Halloween. I'd always hated having a Halloween birthday. When I was younger, it was because everyone was so busy gearing up for trick or treating, they usually forgot it was my special day. Worse still, my parents never let me hide behind a superhero or monster mask. No matter how much I tried to be like every other witch or zombie or caped crusader in the neighborhood, my parents always had other ideas. Maybe this year I could be a pirate, I'd suggest, holding out some scarves and gold hoop earrings. Or a ghost? I'd beg from under an old bedsheet. But every year, my parents insisted on the same costume, a costume that made me stand out more, not less. Darling piece of the moon, you must be an Indian princess, they would enthuse. You are, after all, a real Indian princess, and here is the single day that you can actually look like one. When I was in the first or second grade, the other kids thought the shiny silk saris my mom wrapped me in on Halloween were cool. They believed me when I told them the bangles and necklaces I wore were made of real emeralds, diamonds, and rubies. But there are only so many years you can fool your friends, or yourself, into thinking you're a real Indian princess, banished from your fairy tale and hiding out in a suburban split level in northern New Jersey. No matter what your crazy parents insist, pretty soon the rest of the world catches on. Doesn't your dad own the Quickie Mart on Route 46? Jovi asked one day when we were about 9. What kind of king owns a Quickie Mart? She'd been snapping her gum and tossing her perfect blonde hair and giving me this look like I was less than dirt. I'd wanted to disappear into the floor right then and there. When my mother heard, she gave me some typically loopy advice. My royal daughter, Mom had sing-songed, none of us is just one thing. Life is a process of learning to recognize our many faces. Besides which, your friends are right. No king worth his throne would own a Quickie Mart. Baba had boomed from behind our store's giant gulpy fountain. Go tell your classmates that even kings and queens have to work hard when they move to a new country. And remind them your father does not own a Quickie Mart. He owns a Royal Farms convenience emporium. And if they still don't believe you, Mama added from the aisle where she was restocking the meat flavored jerky, tell them we're not your real parents. Tell them you're the daughter of an underworld serpent king we found you when you were a baby, floating in a clay pot down the river of dreams. I guess every kid whose family is from somewhere else thinks their parents are weird. But with mine, it wasn't just their language, or their clothes, or their food. It was something more. Like my parents never really appreciated the distinctions between fact and fiction, science and mythology, dreams and reality. But it wasn't until that fateful 12th birthday that I really understood why. The day began just like any other October morning in Parsippany, New Jersey. No ominous portents of doom, no noticeable rifts in the time space continuum, not even a multi car tractor trailer pileup on the Jersey Turnpike. Just an autumn sky ribboned with tangerine clouds that tumbled in and over one another, like a bunch of orange flavored cotton candy. But if you were looking carefully, which I wasn't, and had watched enough sci fi television to know, which I probably had, you might have seen a tornado shaped shadow hidden in all the clouds, something that looked like an intergalactic wormhole. But like any Dorothy at the beginning of her adventure, I was pretty clueless back then. I had no idea that soon I wouldn't be in Kansas anymore. Okay, New Jersey, but you know where I'm going with the metaphor. The morning of my 12th birthday, I totally slept through my alarm. It was Zuzu's phone call that woke me up. Feliz cumpleaños, joyous anniversaire, most felicitous of birthdays, Princess Kieran. The voice shouting over the house phone was way too chipper for that early in the morning, not to mention the extra chipperness of her shouting in multiple languages. I made a little gagging sound. Zuzu knew perfectly well that I was allergic to anything remotely princessy. It was probably because of my parents' obsession, but I couldn't stand princesses of any culture. Whether in saris and bangles or tutus and tiaras, the things that really got to me about princesses was all that self righteous Pepto Bismol pink coated prettiness. And of course, all that waiting. Waiting for princes to come, waiting for fate to change, waiting for rescue to swoop in. Just thinking about it made my throat feel like it was closing up. It's my birthday, and you're going to make me choke on my own bile. I squinted my eyes against the morning sun, wishing for the quadrillionth time that my mother would let me have curtains on my window. But she'd somehow gotten into her head that it was healthier for young people to sleep in the moonlight. Oh, I think you'll survive that, Princess Pretty Pants. I imagined Zuzu pushing her hipster red glasses up her pert nose. But Miss Valdez might impale you with her protractor if you miss the math test today. I finally registered the time. Oh man, I'm totally late. You better hurry, babe, Zuzu chirped, but don't you fret. This is going to be the wildest birthday ever. I had no idea then just how right she would be. Forget a special birthday outfit. I threw on my favorite pair of jeans and a black t shirt and quickly braided my dark hair so that it covered the weird scar I had on the back of my neck. One of the two that my parents swore was nothing more than big birthmarks. I tied a bandana over the even uglier scar, the one on my upper arm that looked like a pair of saggy glasses, and then, for double protection, threw on my favorite black hoodie. I ran down the stairs, ignoring the odd expressions on my parents' faces, their strained birthday greetings, even the elaborate breakfast of puffed luchi bread and potatoes Ma had made for me. Here, Mala, Baba began, but I cut him off. You know, I snuck a few chocolate cookies from the pantry into my pocket. I was thinking tonight, for trick or treating, I might go as a vampire. There is not enough fiber in that, darling. Baba's sharp eyes hadn't missed my contraband breakfast. Roughage is very necessary for good digestion. Ignoring Baba's worries about my digestive system, I shoved a cookie in my mouth, then slipped on my favorite shoes, bright purple combat boots Zuzu and I had found at the thrift store. I threw my backpack on my shoulder and hoped Ma wouldn't yell at me too much about not eating the food she'd made. You don't have to buy me a vampire outfit, maybe just some fake plastic teeth. My mouth was all thick with chocolate, and I wished I had time to pour myself something to drink. What is this vampire schmampire? Ma handed me a glass of lactose-free milk as she asked this. I was expecting the milk to be accompanied by by a you better eat a proper breakfast death glare. But Ma seemed too tired to scold. There were circles under her caramel-colored eyes, and the normally tidy bouffant on her head was a bit lopsided. Oh, you know what a vampire is. I bared my teeth, doing a bad impression of an old movie monster. I want to suck your blood. Baba shook her finger in mock jocularity. A vampire is a second-rate monster, if you ask me. No, a Rakash, that's a monster with some chutzpah. My father loves using expressions he learned from his customers. Suck your blood. A Rakash will suck the very marrow from your bones and then use your finger as a toothpick. His laugh, which jiggled his ponchu belly as usual, seemed a little forced. While this all struck me as weird, by the time I just chalked it up to my parents' baseline weirdness. My piece of the moon, my garland of moonbeams, Mom began as she took my empty glass. There is something. She was going to start in on the whole Indian princess routine. I knew it. Don't worry about the vampire thing, Ma. It was just an idea. I turned the front handle, ready to jet. I'm going to be late for school. Kiran Mala, wait, a voice called, but I didn't respond. I stood on our porch looking out over our totally bare front yard. The contrast between our rickety fixer-upper and all our neighbors' McMansions hit me. Everyone else on the street had manicured lawns with pruned hedges and flower beds. Us, barely skeletal hedges and raggedy trees. I blushed, remembering how Jovi had once asked if lawn maintenance was against our religion. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the school bus turn onto the street. Princess, Baba called. In the name of the Garden State Parkway, how many times do I have to tell you guys? I jogged down the front steps. For the last time, I am not a princess. Ma looked stricken, and I wonder if the words had come out harsher than I had intended. Regret nipped at me, but I didn't have time to make nice like a good daughter now. Look, I have to go, okay? That was when I heard the bus door open behind me with a whoosh. I sensed, more than saw, the kids on the bus taking in my family scene. Baba in his ratty too-tight kurta, Ma in a blinding bright yellow and green sari, her bare ringed toes peeping out from beneath the frayed hem. I felt the heat of mixed emotions flood my cheeks. Why couldn't they just be like everybody else? I rushed to get on the bus, but in my hurry I tripped on the snake ditch, the long, shallow trench that Baba kept dug around our yard to protect us from Parsipani's non-existent cobra population. I could hear kids on the bus snickering and kept my head down as I took my seat. I only looked up as the school bus pulled away to see both my parents standing in the driveway. I couldn't hear them, and through the thick pane of glass, their faces looked strange and distorted. Find out more about Kiran Mala and her family and what happens next, you can check out the Serpent Secret from Book Dash, and I'll deliver it to your A1 or your B1 class.